Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Textured Tuesday. I am Nicole Doswell, the founder of Models of Color Matter, and I will be going live with Diane DaCosta, author and textured and curly specialist. We're going to be talking about the importance of textured hair inclusion, the lack of inclusion in the hair space, and also what that ties into with our Models of Color Matter platform. We currently have a petition that is live on change.org. If you hadn't had a chance to yet, please head to our bio and make sure to sign the petition, help us to get textured hair included in the education space. So I'm just waiting on Diane to join us. In the meantime, I'm going to give you kind of some background on myself. In 2019, I conducted a survey with models of color about their experiences backstage. And one of the things that came up was about their treatment in regards to their hair and how they felt like they were being catered to. So 66% of the models that were interviewed said that they felt like their hair was not properly catered to backstage due to the texture of their hair. We believe that in part this is due to the lack of education in textured hair with the models of colored and those with textured hair. It's not included in the schools, and that's something that we're going to be addressing with Diane shortly. Let me see if I can bring her in. Hi, Diane. If you can just request to join, and I'll add you in. Okay. Okay.
Hi,
Hi, Diana. How are
how
you?
are you?
I'm good. See, you're in the salon.
I
Um,
am.
Happy Texture Tuesday. So this is our first episode. Um, I kind of gave a little bit of background on the fact that like at Models of Color Matter, we surveyed models and 66% of the models, most of which were African American, said that they felt like their hair was not catered to backstage, in regards to the stylist actually knowing how to cater to their textured hair.
Right.
Um, and so we believe that that is due to a lack of education. And I kind of wanted to, one, allow you to introduce yourself, obviously, and tell everyone your background and your influence in the textured space.
Oh, okay. So I'm Diane DaCosta, and I have been in the industry for over 30 years. I'm a curly textured expert. I've owned several salons, and in particular, I own the Simply Beautiful Curly Texture Bar in Harlem right now. I've also wrote the book on textured hair called Textured Tresses in 2004. So that was my first, I think, real uh, entry into education and textured education so that consumers as well as stylists could learn about textured hair. And at the time, so I think I started the book, writing it in 2000, 2001, and at the time, texture was only referred to as fine, medium, and coarse hair. So I always knew that texture was more than that. It was a textured type of hair. So you
Mm-hmm.
have textured types, which range from loose wavy all the way to afro coily and zigzag coily hair textures. And that's when I introduced it to mainstream through my book, Texture Tresses. And from there, just working with different beauty brands and educational publishing companies like Milady Publishing to include texture into the workplace or in mainstream salons as well as in uh, in the textbook itself, which educates obviously the cosmetologist.
Mm-hmm.
So in doing that, we got that all up to date and inclusion in the textbooks. And I don't know if all the textbooks have it, but by this time, a lot of the textbooks have it. But specifically, Milady has it, and they're like one of the number one publishing houses of cosmetology textbooks and other textbooks. So, flash to 2000 when Black Lives Matter really started being very aggressive about our people of color, Black people, inclusiveness across the board from the insight of the murder of George Floyd. So since then, all companies and products have tried to become more inclusive in hiring, in providing education from their platform, whether they have a curly line or a textured line, and so forth and so on. However, our stylists are not graduating with any textured experience. So they're going to the YouTube University to get their education, which then makes it very hard for stylists who own salons to give them the proper and the professional education that they need. So what did we do?
So the tools are there in the textbooks. The products are available on the shelves, and the actual professionals that need to execute that beauty onto either the models or just a regular consumer that's going into a salon don't actually have the education backing to take care and cater to textured and curly hair. And so why is that happening? Why are they not teaching it? If we have, obviously there is a demand. There are people with curly and textured hair across all different backgrounds. The tools are there. Why aren't they being included in schools?
The tools are there, and they become available more so in the last, I think, in the forefront in the last 2 or 3 years. The tools. The reason why it's not being taught, even though it's in the textbook, is because it's not mandatory on the state board exam. And when you're in school, you're taught to pass the state board. So
and that's in any school. That's what they teach you.
Every
is how do you pass and go on to into your profession?
How do you pass the state board? And so they brushed over the chapter that has textured, and then they teach a little bit of braiding, but they're still teaching relaxers because that's on the state board, right? Right. The school just focuses on state board. One of the stylists is commenting. Exactly. And she is a instructor. And also, the instructors are not required to update their education at all regarding to texture. So, unless the stylist is versed in texture and or is passionate about texture or is a instructor of color, then there's no reason for them to actually have an incentive to teach texture in the classroom. And that's across the board, And then so we also, so that's of every color, every race. You know, there's no education to those who even want to learn, you know, from the beginning. They have to
Hmm.
go in advanced classes outside of the cosmetology school to take all of these, um, to get more education. And that means they don't even have a foundation. They don't know
Hmm.
how to approach texture. They're afraid of it. There's fear of cutting texture here. There's fear of styling texture here. And
It's a whole different technique, right?
yes,
So you are essentially starting from ground zero when you are going into a textured hair classroom or taking a course in textured hair, as
yes,
opposed to, and it's interesting because we have so many conversations in the beauty space and the fashion space about diversity and inclusion, but they don't think about the holistic meaning of that. So
right,
these, like you have, your Gap campaigns, and I'm sure the models are coming up there and they have their curly hair. A lot of them are being told to come on set with their hair done already because they know that there is a strong possibility that the stylist is either not going to be able to do their hair or not going to have the sufficient time in order to execute what textured hair would require. And so the is really not there
right,
in the beauty and space. So no matter how hard these brands are pushing for
yeah,
diversity and inclusion, I always like to say that like we're being given a seat at the table without the utensils to eat at that table.
right,
And this is one of those things that's a utensil that's necessary for anyone to go out and be their best. So even though we have like the Crown Act that's being passed in many states, so now your employer can't fire you or send you home or tell you you need to change your hair because of the texture of it. You still can't go into a salon and get a quote unquote professional textured hair styling necessarily at any salon.
correct,
So I might walk into an Aveda salon and they tell me yes, no, I can do your hair. And
yeah,
I know from experience, I've sat in a salon where they told me they can do my hair and I left like I should have just stayed home and done my own
right,
hair.
right,
Um, and you're doing an injustice to a very large population,
right.
and not offering services to all types of hair.
Yeah, because even these well-known um, salon chains, they actually do not teach in their curriculum the whole scope of texture, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and textured styling and how to simply shampoo and condition textured hair and all of the nuances with elasticity and porosity and what type of shampoos and conditioners work best with these type of textures and including the cutting and the styling.
Mm-hmm.
So they might say they know how to do it because they might have, you know, they might have touched briefly upon it, so they're going to try. But unless they get the full education and the scope of all textures and learn
Mm-hmm.
how to style all textured hair, it doesn't matter what nationality you are, because as a woman of color, I had to learn on um, white, straight, wavy mannequins,
Mm.
right? So I had to learn that and perfect that. And so I know how to do texture because of practice on textured hair,
Mm-hmm.
including just the techniques of trying to approach it and then teaching it to all of my stylists who come through my academy, and then applying that to all of the textbooks and the videos and the education. But the funny thing is now is that everybody thinks they are a texture expert. They could be doing texture in the salon for like not even in the salon, just you know
Mm-hmm.
they come out doing their own hair, and then their stylists they graduated 1 or 2 years. They're experts now. So at best, you know they might have a little bit of knowledge. They don't have enough hands-on experience to for the whole gamut of texture, and then they don't have the proficiency to strive for excellence and
Mm-hmm.
you know pure um, perfection. But I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to say perfection, but you know reach that higher excellence
Yeah.
to provide the best 100%, 200% of your skills to the craft itself on in just texture. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh,
So
I know. I'm not gonna lie. I've subscribed to YouTube University as
right,
well. Like, you go on there after having many a horror story and going to salons that have burned your scalp or damaged your hair. You take matters into your own hands a lot of times
hmm
because of all of the bad experiences that you have. And then finally we find someone like you and we've already, taken our hair through the gamut, and it's unfortunate because really anyone that has a computer can have a YouTube channel and tell you how to do your
right,
hair. But also,
right,
like, I'm logging on there and saying like, oh, I want to see someone that has my same texture, and I know
yes,
nothing of like all of the other things that you mentioned, like the porosity of their hair. Like our hair, just because it's of the same texture category, does not mean that
hmm
it's going that all things are equal and that their results are going to be my results, or what they're doing is going to be healthy on my hair, even if it
right,
works for them. And so I completely, I mean, anyone can have a class, anyone can, say
right,
that they're an expert, and we believe it. If they got a little blue
right,
check mark, we're going to go with it. And it's like that's really not enough. That doesn't mean that they have the years
but
of experience or that
hmm
they've even been properly educated in it.
yeah. And the thing is that there is no one hair head of texture that is the same. So
Hmm.
even if you're watching someone on YouTube that looks like your texture,
Hmm.
it could not be your texture because textured hair comes in so many ranges, and then you can have different textures on your hair, on your head, several
Hmm.
different textures. So, um, so then you end up practicing what they told you because it works on their hair, and then it
Yeah.
might not actually work on your hair.
Hmm.
And so then you get frustrated, and then you're trying to go through all these products and products and
So
products
many products. You don't want to
to
see
make
my
it work,
bathroom.
right? Right. So the thing is that the products do what they say they're going to do, right? So it's really, is your hair healthy
Hmm.
from the beginning of your journey? You can't put products on your hair that says it's gonna, curl it and hold it and moisturize it if your foundation is not firm. And
Hmm.
that means, are your ends healthy? Is your porosity um, normal? Is it high? Is it low? How do you fix that? Is your elasticity breaking because of damage or color or all these
Hmm.
other things that you have to take into account before you actually start using products to make your
Hmm.
hair
So
look
like,
good.
explain to me. So when I'm going to school to become a hairstylist.
hmm
How many hours am I putting in school? And about, if you were to give like a percentage or a time frame, would you say that probably most people spend on textured hair, knowing that it's so diverse and that there really is so much that you need to explore? What is the percentage you would say that they spend on textured hair? And then if any of you are in school and want to chime in the comment section, please feel free to, because I genuinely am curious, if I mean, I guess if at all.
How much hours in the school when they're training do
Yeah,
they?
of the whole practice. I know you said that you practice on a straight haired mannequin or a wavy haired mannequin. Um,
So the thing is that they still do not have texture mannequins that they're learning on, because why? It's not required. So why do they have to bring in a texture
mm,
mannequin? So there are texture mannequins available in
yeah.
an array of textures, but the schools are not required, so they don't offer texture mannequins. Maybe some schools do, but the majority of them don't. Okay, so you're not learning on the texture mannequin.
Mm,
If you have other students in the class that have textured hair, then you're practicing on their hair when you do your practicals
oh,
in the classroom. So yes, they have textured mannequins. they have them, but are they in the classroom? Yay. Are they in the classroom now? One of the stylists is an educator. She's saying, yes, yes. I know. I purchased many textures, and
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of them. But they aren't
Uh,
our texture. Exactly.
okay.
In the classroom, in the schools, they are not our texture. So they're still learning on that loose, wavy hair,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not purchasing textured mannequins. Even if they're learning how to relax
Mm-hmm.
on with the technique, they're still using it on a wavy mannequin. So you're getting zero practice on a mannequin. All you can do while you're in cosmetology school is buy your own texture mannequin
Mm.
and then practice yourself. But that is not provided for you in your kit. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you have to buy your own texture mannequin at this point, and you also have to read and practice the texture chapters on your own because
Oh.
they're not taught in the schools. At
Mm-hmm.
best, they go over the braiding chapter, which they might teach you how to corn roll and maybe French braid and do some like knot braids, rope braids, but they're not going into styling the textured hair, wait curly, coily hair, all the different
Mm-hmm.
techniques that are available in the textbook right now. All of those techniques, the terminology, and everything is included in the textbook. But
Mm-hmm.
again, unless you have a instructor who is a professor of color, instructor of color, um, there's minimal chance that you're going to actually get to practice anything
Wow.
from the textbook right now.
So a
So
lot of this is being when we're sitting in
self-taught,
the, yeah,
self-taught.
so I know we interviewed once a model from London, and she said that when she arrived backstage, the stylist had brought all the other stylists around her because they had never worked on that texture of hair before. And I can only imagine that you feel like an animal in the zoo. Like this
Yeah.
is not your time
So,
to be learning this when
right.
you are a hired professional on a job at this point. And
Yeah.
I can only imagine that if this is probably a lot of people's first time when they have maybe their first textured client sit in their hair and they're saying, yeah, I know how to do that because they've maybe they glanced over the section when they were in school. They're going to give it a try because that's the only way that they're going to get a chance to learn it. Like that's kind of scary because
Yeah.
you're paying your
That's
money when you're
scary.
going into the salon.
Yeah, and the thing is that they do want to learn. So, um, really, they would have to petition that in the school to lobby to get more education from that particular school because each
Mhm.
school, there's tons and tons of schools.
Yeah.
Just here in the city, in New York, there's tons of schools. So, each school can make their own policy. I know
Hmm.
that I've spoken to a really prominent school in Florida, and they are a black owned school, but they cater to all textures and
Hmm.
all nationalities. They have incorporated texture into their program, into their curriculum, because they are barbering as well as texture
Hmm.
styling as well as holistic universal
Hmm.
styling. So they're learning all of that. But what did that take? That took a a black man who owns a school, and their VP of education or the president of the school to actually incorporate it into into
Hmm.
the classroom, into the curriculum. But it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory across the board anywhere.
Hmm.
So so
So if I want to become proficient in textured hair as a stylist, I need to go out for an additional course
yes,
outside of getting my license. It's just
yes.
something I'm going to need to make an additional investment in at this
Yes,
point.
right now you have to make additional investments. You can buy additional textbooks that cater to natural hairstyling and braiding. Obviously there are academies that have online classes from individuals who
Mm-hmm.
started their own schools and or brands that have
Mm-hmm.
um, started academies.
Because they want people
So
to use their products well.
right, and then of course it's product driven. So
Mm-hmm.
you're learning from a biased perspective
Mm.
usually because those products work with these type of styling, but the
Mm.
technique is there. The technique
Okay.
is there, but you have to um, pay additionally right now to perfect and get any type of certificate to say that you have perfected the textured styling techniques, because let's face it, everybody has their own way of doing it, but there are basic formulas
Mm-hmm.
that everybody should work with. From that point, then you can go on and do all these other fantastic things, because textured is really amazing, and you can do you can really create some beautiful
Yeah.
styles with textured hair that you would not ever be able to create with just straight hair. You have to do
Mm-hmm.
a lot of manipulation with straight hair to get it to be textured, but it is definitely possible to do
Mm-hmm.
that as well
Yeah.
without heat as well, without
Yeah.
using the curling iron and the wave iron and all of these things.
But this takes a
But
complete understanding of how hair works and all
yes,
hair works in order for you to get to that expert level of like editorial hair,
correct,
which we're seeing
correct.
a lot more. And the people that are proficient in these areas are getting more work because they know how to do these various
Exactly.
techniques. It really is like it really is crazy because it it it's discrimination, obviously. Because it seems, like if
Well,
you
before, I'm sorry, but
yeah, go ahead.
before last year or this year, they were not hiring black stylists to create textured styles. What they would do was they would send them to get prepped by a stylist that
Mm-hmm.
is an expert, and then they would send them on the set, and then whoever was on the set would continue the styling, which is totally outrageous.
Yeah, and
Instead of
that's who would get the
hiring,
credit in the magazine.
right, and then they would get the credit.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless it's a Latina or a black magazine, that's the only place that you would be able to showcase or shine.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even though there are so many incredible stylists right now, it's still the club of
Mm-hmm.
certain top stylists who are shining, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how it's more of discrimination,
Yeah.
because instead of giving, more opportunities or presenting more opportunities, they stick with the stylists that have come up, which
Mm-hmm.
they are definitely worthy
Mm-hmm.
of where they are and what they're doing. But in other respects, it's just like a club of textured stylists that they always pull from,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been in that club, so I know. Back in the early 2000s, I was in that club
Mm-hmm.
on, for 2 decades. So I know when you are an expert at something, they're going to stick with you because you know what you're doing. You can be presented with any obstacle,
Mm-hmm.
and you know how to switch up and change. So that's why it's so important to keep your education going
Mm-hmm.
and to always reach out to other stylists who are in that category for mentorship, because
Mm-hmm.
that is how you are going to get your chance. It's not going to be like instantaneous like everybody thinks it should be because of Instagram and YouTube and your phones. You know, it's still, you have to put the work in. Do you have to put like 10 years of work in at this point? No, because the generation moves faster. Everything is
Mm-hmm.
moving faster. But as long as you are willing to learn and you can grasp the, the education and perfect your skills,
Mm.
perfect, perfecting your skill and honing your craft is the key to the opportunity. You know, so it is out there, and you know, I charge all of the elite stylists, I'm going to call them, to mentor and make sure they're mentoring in any way
Mm.
possible. You know, the younger generation, the next generation, because the next generation are just doing. They're just doing. They don't. They'll go to. They won't even go to school. They're just like self-made, self-taught, like Madam C.J. Walker, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a beautiful thing. But in the real world, you still have to get your license. You know,
Yeah.
to touch people's
Mm-hmm.
head and hair, because that is the law. You know,
Yeah.
and
And I'm
we didn't
sure it
come
would
to it
be
for
if
no.
I'm a publication, I don't want the liability of,
Exactly. But you're
yeah.
not even going to get picked up if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have your license, period. You know, you're not even going to get picked up in that respect.
Yeah.
But I love that the next generation stylists are, you know, going after what their dreams and their desires, and they're making tons of money.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I still would emphasize, you know, taking some classes with a mentor, because they can help you move to the next level, you
Mm.
know, of
Yeah.
whatever your goals are, or
No, I
taking
completely agree.
classes from a certified academy, you know,
Yeah.
that can give you more, or just correct and the I'm saying correct, because creativity is whatever it is going to
Mm-hmm.
be, but the practical ways and the foundation of how to achieve what you're trying to do in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. You know,
Yeah.
everybody has some type of creativity. You know, but
Mm-hmm.
the more you practice on it, the more you'll get better at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is so important. And I was so happy when I saw your petition on change.org to see that it was something that was already a conversation, and it's a conversation in many states and in many countries. And I
Yeah.
know that even it's been actually a conversation very recently in London, because
Yes.
they are doing a pretty
They
horrible
passed the
job.
law.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
So
just recently passed it after after a couple of years of lobbying. You know, they actually are required now to teach it in the schools.
yeah,
So
and
that
it's
is,
crazy that it
you know,
would
that's,
happen in London before it would happen here.
well, you
So,
know, this is it. You know, London and London has always been on the cutting edge of texture and creativity,
mm,
even before the United States. You know, everything is at least 2 years ahead over there. So the stylists that have been lobbying for this, where's the petition? The petition is
you can
on
find it in our bio. It's
both of our bios
mhm,
and on change.org, because it is change.org. Teach texture education in cosmetology
yeah,
school. But it's the direct link is in. Oh, we
yeah.
should pick that, I guess.
Yeah, and
But
I'll after if you go to the
yeah,
stories, I'll have a swipe up to the petition as well. So it'll be easy
right.
for you. So it'll be there for 24 hours, and I'll continue putting it up there for the rest of the week.
So we are actually beginning the talk texture. What is this called?
Texture
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 Tuesday.
Tuesday.
We're talking about texture, but it's Texture Tuesday, so we can bring awareness and bring everything to the light of what's going on with the schools and getting um, texture taught in the classrooms as
Hmm.
well as on the state board. And we challenge every cosmetology school to get on board with this,
Hmm.
because this is the only way that it's an even playing field for all stylists coming out now of the schools. The beauty stylists, the stylists and the beauty industry needs to really get on this cause more than just inclusiveness in capitalism. We want the stylists who are in the salons as well as assistants and those who are entering to be able to make more money by bringing on more clients in the textured realm. And, you know, younger people are not so hung up on just one way of doing things. Those who have straight hair want curly hair. Those who have curly hair want more manageability. Everybody needs a cut. So your profit margin is just going to skyrocket when you include texture in your menu, as well as giving the students a full range and a fighting chance out in the real market now. As soon as you get into the real market, the salon is going to look different. It's not going to look like your mannequin, right? One texture on a mannequin, it's going to be many textures floating in the salon. You know?
And that's why that continued education is so important.
Right. That's the basic. That's the basis of everything. Is that at the end of the day, we all want to make money doing what we love. And if you love creating, there's infinite possibilities of the platforms that you can go into. Right. It's like fashion, TV, film, movies, editorial, music videos. I mean, recording, even the which I used to work in, is the photo shoots for the covers of the CDs and whatever they're doing now. But just promotions, it's endless. Where you can take your skills, but you have to be prepared, and you have to know from the beginning of your education of how to approach texture, because it's everywhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, for us with Models of Color Matter, you can't create a good experience for a model with textured hair if when they arrive on set, there's no one there to cater to their beauty.
Right.
And so while their cast and the brands might have the best intentions, they think that they're hiring, they have a team backstage that are professional stylists. And so in their head, they've done their due diligence in making sure that there's professionals there to take care of these models when they arrive. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. Usually maybe there's a couple that are backstage, and maybe all of the Black models get put into that stylist's chair, or they're experimented on by another stylist. But it just is so important that I think that from a Black woman that goes to the salon, I would love to see this change happen. But I would love to see this change happen for my daughter, for my mom, for every person with textured hair, because it's not just women. It's anyone that has hair. I would like to see this happen for people with hair. And so I'm so grateful for the work that you do, and I'm hoping that they get to utilize these textbooks and the information that is readily available already.
Right.
These textured mannequins that are available, I hope that they bring them into schools. And if we can have your help in signing the petition so that we can bring this to the state board, then we can help to put this change into motion and really make a difference for the stylists of the future. And for all of us that get our hair done. So I would truly appreciate it if anyone that's watching, if you can pass along the petition, if you can sign the petition yourself, share the link. We really want to see a change for all of us. I think that it's so important what we have going here, and I'm excited for you guys to get excited about what we deserve to see in salons, and for stylists that are out there and currently in school, for what you are going to receive as far as your education and like your confidence that when opportunity knocks, you can actually answer with the tools you need.
Yeah, that's exactly what we would love for you to participate signing the petition, and not only signing the petition, but when you see our posts, to comment and tell us your story and
Mm-hmm.
why you think that it's important for stylists to be educated in texture within the beauty industry as well as in the cosmetology schools. And we'll be coming on frequently with other guests who are, in the industry
Mm-hmm.
sharing why they believe that texture is important to be taught in the cosmetology schools and
Mm-hmm.
their experiences with hiring stylists, training them, working with other stylists, and or lack of opportunity
Yeah.
and stylists that are fully, skilled because of the lack of education in the past when they went to cosmetology school. So this is a really big movement now. And, like we said, there are a lot of petitions out there, but what we want to do is take it straight to New York State and the state board so that we can push the movement for change right now because the textbooks have it. Again, the product companies are fully, inclusive with
Mm-hmm.
textured and curly products. It's oversaturated. I mean, and it's more and more coming every year. There's like 100 new product companies making their product lines, which are fabulous because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
them are people of color who are creating brands, which is great. But we still need skilled stylists across the board. We want everyone to have a basic knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
of approaching textured hair in every platform.
Mm-hmm.
So we would really appreciate it if you share the petition and sign the petition and get
Yes.
on board. And
Yeah,
if
but,
you,
and your stories are important.
yeah,
So even when you sign the petition, you can leave in the comment why that's important to you, comment on our posts. And also if you have a story that you want to share on Reels or in your stories, tag us, we'll share it as well. Like we want to hear your story, we want to hear your voice and why this movement is important to you.
right, that would be really very important because we really want to hear from you and what's going on in these streets. Really, what's really going on down
I
there?
know a lot of us have horror stories. I know I have. My scalp has been burnt. My hair has been fried. My hair has fallen out. I've gone through all of it. So I know that the stories are out there and we want to hear from you why it's so important. And it can be your horror story because you don't want it to happen to you or anyone else
Right. We want to
again.
hear how we can have solutions and challenge this to make a change because obviously I'm teaching, I have education, the Curly Texas Academy, I have online classes, I have one-on-one classes, I do group classes, but that is advanced. It's
Mm-hmm.
advanced classes, and anyone can take it who has a license. And then we have, DIY classes as well. However, that doesn't help the next generation who are
Mm-hmm.
in the schools
Right now. Yeah.
training on only wavy hair
Mm-hmm.
when there's mannequins of all textures available. And that
Mm-hmm.
should be included in their package, in their
Yeah,
kit, in their toolkit. It should be,
exactly.
part of how they learn both textures
Yeah.
together at the same time. So
Yeah.
that's just a
Yeah. We
whole
just
nother
need
level.
a
But
this is a part of normalizing hair diversity. That's
yeah,
really what it is that
yeah,
there is not one type of hair, so we should not be teaching one type, two types of hair. There's such a wide range of hair texture. So let's normalize that hair
yeah.
diversity because it's happening. We're already diversifying our ads, we're diversifying our TV, we're diversifying our products. We need to make normalize the fact that we have a wide range of hair textures. It should be the education should be there in order to back what's happening in our market. And New York is so diverse that
Yeah.
it makes so much sense for it to start right here in New York. And I think that once it happens here,
Right.
we will be
Once it
able to
happens here,
push it for
yeah,
different states and for it to move along. And I think we're going to see that change coming soon. So we need your help.
yeah.
Um,
And
let's
just
start.
understand, everybody has some texture in their hair. I mean,
Exactly.
unless you have like pin straight, fine, thin hair, everyone has texture. You don't even know it. That little tiny wave
Hmm.
is texture. So we all have texture in our hair, and that's why it's so important to understand the array of texture types that are um, out there for you to play with, basically, play with
Yeah.
in a skilled way. But
Yes. No.
it's so much fun. It's so much fun, and it'll bring your joy to be able to create different styles with your creativity, and learning the methods and the techniques from the beginning will just make it easier for you, so you don't have to struggle. Because even today, I get clients coming in here, and I'm just like, whoa, how am I gonna and this is textured hair. I'm like, I've done this before, but how am I going to approach this on this particular client whose hair may not be healthy,
Hmm.
but I
Like, how
still
did we get here?
I have to execute something or not. You know what I mean?
True. That's true. That's true. I mean, I think it's so funny because it's well, it's not funny, but it's
No.
such a normal experience for pretty much. I know I don't have really a friend that doesn't have a horror story from going into a
Right.
salon, whether it be from when they were really young. When I was young, I didn't even know my hair got
Yeah.
curly, because my mom permed it when I was younger, and I really didn't even know the texture of my hair, and it's something that like I had to learn as from like my teenage years on, and even when I did try to embrace it, I didn't even know where to go to really embrace it. I still was
And
like, okay, blow it out and.
yeah, that is the sad thing right now because, like I said, I've been creating textured styles for over 30 years from my beginning of my career, as well as writing about it, teaching about it, and and I'm right here in a storefront. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So it's so baffling to me to think that there is just such mediocrity going on today
Yep.
when it's been the textured movement and the natural hair movement has been around for several decades. So I'm not really understanding. I'm just always so shocked to hear these stories that this is still going on. And why is it going on? Right? Because they're not getting the education. They're teaching
Hmm.
themselves. It's self-taught everything. And that is that's the core of the matter at the end of the day, because this should not be going on at this
Yeah.
point. And I have mentors who were 10 and 20 years before me. So this movement is alive, kicking, and it's a revolution. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's a revolution, and we need to get this really solidified and going. You
Yeah. I
know,
mean, this is taking care of your hair is a form of self-love. And so like we've had a little bit of we've had people that have dissonance against like their own hair texture and whether they want to embrace it, or you see young girls crying because they hate their afros, and it's sad, but it's because we haven't normalized hair diversity for so long. So even though, and we're now at a point where you'll see a girl that looks like you on TV, and it's still kind of, it brings you joy to see your
yeah,
reflection in media. And I think that we want to help make it a safe place to embrace your curls, kinks, coils, waves, textured hair. And so that's really what this is about. It's inclusion, but it's also just like a form of like, let's love on each other and who we are and what we bring to the table.
right, right.
Yeah,
That's what
well,
it's all
thank you
about.
so much. I'm so happy that we get to work together, and
Yes,
that we're starting the Texture Tuesday
yes,
conversation. So join us next Tuesday, and we will be continuing our conversation about texture with a an
Yes,
expert
yes.
or industry insider. So stay tuned and we'll be promoting that on all of our platforms. All right.
Fabulous.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everyone.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye, Nikki.
Bye.